What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and the weather is getting colder. August is turning September, and fall is in the air. Unfortunately, though, the Red Sox, the 2022 Red Sox, continue their inconsistent ways. After a fantastic 5-game winning streak and an absolute beatdown of a truly terrible Texas Rangers team, the Boston Red Sox go into Tampa Bay and have a truly disappointing series. Now, another disappointing series on top of a disappointing season, and that is what we are talking about today. We are going to go over everything that happened in this Rays series. We're going to talk about kind of where I'm at with how I evaluate these Red Sox series in terms of whether they were good or bad. We're going to talk about the good things and we're going to talk about the bad things. We're going to talk about everything that happened in this Rays series in today's video. But before I get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video. Helps the videos out a ton, would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. We're going to start with the offensive side of things here and try and pluck out some of the highlights, because to be honest with you, the offense was less than stellar, but there were some highlights and key takeaways to have in this Rays series. And the first one, and probably the biggest one, is that Tristan Casas got his first major league home run. He was able to turn around a ball at his hands that was not in the strike zone and put it out of the park. A really impressive swing from a really impressive prospect. Hopefully this is one of many for Tristan Casas at the big league level, and I'm excited to see this kid develop throughout the rest of the year. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't mention the fact that the guy who caught the baseball was an absolute character. He bargained with the team. He was wearing a Rays jersey, had a White Sox shirt on underneath, and looked just like Ryan Brazier. So one of the funnier things to come out of this series, and definitely one of the biggest in terms of on-field play to come out of this series for the Boston Red Sox. Xander Bogaerts also made Red Sox history in this series as well. He joins an elusive club of Jim Rice, Kevin Youkilis, being the only players in Red Sox history to have a 9-game hitting streak where in every single game they had multiple hits. Xander Bogaerts continues to make Red Sox history. I think that's like the 3rd or 4th time this season that he's done that, and what else do you want me to say? Put a C on his chest, lock him up here for the next couple of years. I don't want Xander in another single uniform, maybe ever. And he also got injured in this series as well, but nothing super serious. He should be back tomorrow for the start of that next series. After that, Doogie had a home run in this series. Doogie just has one of the cleanest home run swings in all of baseball. So every time he hits a home run, I'm excited to put his video on this recap because it really is just a pretty swing. He's been doing really well lately. So shout out to Verdugo for kind of trying to keep this offense alive. Tommy Pham had a 2-run shot in this one. And one of the interesting things with Tommy Pham's home run is that it was to dead center. I feel like we don't see a ton of dead center home runs at Tropicana Field for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just because of lighting or because of the dimensions of the field. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, nice home run by Tommy Pham. And then after that, Devers had an RBI knock. Still continues to be less than stellar at the plate, but he's slowly getting there. He's also battling through some stuff. Had to take a day off in the last game of the series. So I'm not blaming Devers for this cold streak. I think that he will be back and better than ever at some point this year. Trevor Story had an RBI double, and Trevor Story, besides the fact that he's doing much better at the plate, we missed him so much defensively. I'm going to be honest with you, even with his injury, I think that this guy still deserves the Gold Glove. He quite literally makes an insane play every single night. It's absolutely crazy. But regardless, as you could tell, there were some pretty decent positive takeaways from this offense during this Tampa Bay Rays series. But again, a lot of it comes back to not being able to put runners across the plate. There were multiple times in almost every single game in this series where you had the opportunity to drive in runs and either cut a deficit, bring in the go-ahead, bring in the tying, right? Bring in some runs in general for some insurance runs, and that just simply did not happen. While this team is able to hit home runs and hit, RBI doubles and RBI singles and stuff like that, they are still unable to hit those clutch hits in those late innings, and that has been a problem all year. It's still disappointing to this day. But the offense was not the only part of this series, so let's talk about the pitching as well. Honestly, the starting pitching was pretty good. You had Waka in this series go 6 innings, allowed 2 runs and strike out 7. Waka continues to be one of the most consistent pitchers in all of baseball, regardless of on the Red Sox. And he's a guy that I think we need desperately for 2023. Hopefully we can get him back on at least a 1-year deal. Pivetta had what probably was his best game against an AL East opponent all year. He took a no-hitter into the 5th inning and ended up coming out after the 5th with 1 run and 2 hits and 3 strikeouts. Strikeouts number probably could have been a little bit higher, but he was managing to get guys out, and that's what matters, because that's something that he has not done for this entire year. When we're talking about disappointing, right, this Red Sox series being disappointing, it was disappointing because of the losses, yes, but there are some decent takeaways that I'm starting to look for in these series that we'll talk about in a second. But one of them is Nick Pivetta arc, right? If Nick Pivetta can start to hit the rest of the season, kind of pull himself together against AL East opponents, that to me is a win. And finally, Rich Hill got the ball in this series. He had a little bit of a tough one. He went 4 innings, allowed 5, and struck out 4. Kind of a typical Rich Hill start. I don't think that it completely took the Red Sox out of the game, but he managed to at least kind of stop the bleeding as much as he possibly could. I'm a little excited for Rich Hill to be gone next year. Listen, Rich Hill was worth the money, yes, but I'm at the point now where we need some fresh faces in this rotation. Rich Hill just simply is not fresh anymore. But all in all, when we're talking about starting pitching, we're talking about how much this season has been disappointing. The starting pitching, for the most part, when they are fully healthy, right, minus maybe Chris Sale, they were able to keep the Red Sox in games consistently, and that to me puts them at the bottom of the list in terms of what has been disappointing this year. Again, when we are a fully healthy pitching rotation, which has kind of been few and far between this entire 2022 season. As for the bullpen, though, and talking in terms of ranking disappointments, they are certainly not last, maybe even first, because this bullpen continues to do what the bullpen does best, and that is give up runs. Familia gave up some runs in this series. Bizzardo gave up some runs in this series, and I'm actually pretty disappointed with Edward Bizzardo. I really truly thought he was going to make a difference in this bullpen, and it seems as though, at least so far, that's not happening. Hopefully he gets, you know, the reps and the stuff that we need to see by the end of the year to kind of put himself in a better place, maybe for the 2023 season. Zach Kelly is a guy who I definitely think will be on this roster in 2023. He's been great for this team since he came up. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about this bullpen that hasn't already been said. One thing I will say is that there are definitely 1 or 2 or probably more of these guys in the minor leagues that are chopping at the bit to get up here, that have been doing really well in the minors, and I just simply don't understand what we are doing by letting Familia, letting Brazier, letting these guys who we probably won't have on this 2023 Red Sox team get reps. Why wouldn't we try and call up at least 1 or 2 of these minor league guys who, again, are chomping at the bits, biting at the ankles of these major league players, trying to get up here and see what they can do towards the end of the year, and see if they're, you know, maybe there's a surprise guy in there that we can use to fill some holes in the bullpen. I don't understand what's going on there. In terms of the series as a whole, I talked about it a couple of times that instead of looking for wins and losses in a series, I've kind of shifted my ideas to individual performances or team performances in a series. And that's kind of how I'm judging whether or not the Red Sox win or lose a series from here on out, mostly because we're fairly close to being statistically eliminated. We're fairly close to being fully eliminated from a playoff run. It's time to start looking at 2023. A couple of examples of this is the Tristan Casas home run, right? That's a win in my book. He was able to body up a pitch that was out of the strike zone. He's been extremely good at selecting pitches. He looks fantastic. To me, that's a win. Nick Pivetta being able to finally put it together against an AL East team, that's a win. Right? A reason I titled this video another disappointing series is because of how they played compared to how they played against the Texas Rangers. It feels as though they just simply give up sometimes against AL East opponents, and that to me is disappointing. But I think I'm at the point now in this season where I'm going to try and pick out sort of individual performances or individual team performances as what I'm excited about in series, as opposed to the wins and losses. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this. What do you think of this series? Do you like my kind of ideology that, hey, we should start focusing on individual stuff? Do you not like that? What are your thoughts on the Red Sox in general after this series down below? As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button. Again, like I said at the beginning, if you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Plus, on top of that, we make Red Sox content regardless of whether or not they're good or bad. Also, make sure you guys hit the like button on this one as well. Again, like I said at the beginning, helps out a ton, would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.